because I think it's good to hold people accountable when they make decisions like that or they recommend things like that. So that's my piece.
Okay.
I hope you guys will reconsider that because I think it's.
Mr. Peace?
Yes, sir.
We're not gonna go back and forth on this, but I'm gonna make a statement at the end of the meeting
Understood.
during comments, for the board members, that it should clarify it for everyone.
I figured as such. I understand that it's not a back and forth. So I've said my piece, and I hope you guys reverse that decision. Thank you.
I will say there's no decision been made, but we'll talk about it. I'll talk about it at the end of the meeting. I promise.
Excellent.
Anybody else out there in virtual land have any comments on items not on the agenda? Hearing none, please mute everybody. Susan.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go on with the meeting here. We're on to the trustee vacancy interviews and appointment. Ms. McClear, we did this by alphabetical order. So you're going to be the first one up. And the first question I'm going to ask Emily, if you don't mind me calling you Emily.
That's fine.
Could you just give a quick background of yourself and why you would like to be part of the Oxford Township Board?
All right, so my name is Emily McClear. I have lived in Oxford my whole life. I go to school here. I'm a part of the Oxford Schools Early College program, and I've had the privilege to run Oxford Gives Back, which, for anybody not familiar, is a program that provides free help with yard work to local homeowners in need. And by organizing that project, I realized that I have a really huge passion for bringing the community together and servicing the community. And I think that my passion and my energy and my motivation can provide a lot for the board and for the township.
Okay. Emily, I have one other question. It's kind of glaring for me. It's in your the stuff you've entered here. I don't know where you live. It says Oxford, Michigan 48371. I don't know if you're in the school district. You know what I'm saying? Do you have an address?
I live in Oxford Lakes on Thornhill Trail.
Okay, that was a simple question, simple answer, but it didn't show anything on here. Is there any board questions for Emily?
Are you a registered voter?
I am.
Okay.
Anybody else here? Yes, Jack.
Okay, see, you can raise your hand and get asked. Emily, what experience do you have with any township government? Are you familiar with the Red Book, or have you been to a lot of meetings or any meetings at all, or committees?
I have not. I don't have a lot of experience with the wider span of the government, but I am really eager to learn, and I really have a huge motivation to learn.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have questions? You know, I would say, Emily, I love your background. I love your zeal. I wish I had that much zeal at my age, but you've been doing a lot here in the community, and I want to praise you for that.
I do have one more thing to say.
Yes, Jack.
Emily has a very high recommendation from Tim Throne, the superintendent of schools. Talked to me today, and we were talking about another topic, and I brought Emily's name up, and he had nothing but accolades to say about Emily.
I mean, I'm sure she's not old enough to drink yet, but for her young age, she's got one hell of a resume. You should be very proud of that.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Emily? Thank you, Emily. We're going to go on. Let's see the next one, alphabetical order. Mr. Nold. John, I'm going to ask you the same thing I did Emily, could you give us a little background, quick background on yourself? And let's do that.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, John.
Yeah, I can hear
Good.
you.
I wish to thank the board for the time to speak on behalf of the replacement for Elgin. Elgin Nichols has been an esteemed retired member of the Board of Trustees, and he's a loyal colleague to this board and a friend. I was appointed by the board to the Planning Commission over 2 years ago. Within the past 2 years, have had an opportunity to sit on the Ordinance Review Committee, where great work has been accomplished regarding the zoning ordinance. And I also sit by appointment on the Zoning Board of Appeals, representing the Planning Commission. I have enjoyed the ability to, within my specific duties, to interact with all operating departments within the township, whether it's the supervisor's office, the treasurer's, or the clerk's office. The township staff have been rewarding for my service work. My property management and remodeling business has been operating in the township for over 22 years. My clientele, subcontractor base, and supply houses are all primarily within the township. This daily community exposure grants me the hands-on community experience to best address the community needs within the township. I am no stranger to the Board of Trustees monthly meetings. For over a year, I've observed the management of fiduciary responsibilities regarding the township affairs. I've also filed with the Oakland County Clerk's Office to be a candidate for trustee in the upcoming general election held November 3rd, 2020. And I've been told that I am a well-prepared person, willing to listen and make decisions for the betterment of the township. I wish to thank the board for their consideration.
Thank you, John. Any other board comment? Margie, you got your hand up. Thank you.
Well, I guess I would have to ask John as well. Are you a registered voter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Jack?
You know, I'd want to ask the same questions that I asked Emily, and I'm going to ask Alan, but he gave a dossier of his experience with township government, so I'm all good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Again, John, your resume is quite impressive. So if there's no other questions, we'll move on to Mr. Schwartz. Alan?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Alan.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I've always been interested in government, and I'm approaching a phase of life where I can, relax a little bit. I've been into a product engineer doing automotive switches for 45 years, and my business, appliance repair business, that we started when I got downsized in 2008. So my appliance repair business, I'm turning that over to my grandson, and I'll probably retire from engineering in 2 years. So I'm at a good point to like I say, I've always thought about trying to help and be part of the township government. My wife and I, we moved to Oxford in 1993.
Okay, Alan, thank you.
In this video, what I want to
I don't know what that was.
Sorry, that was me trying to figure out getting my picture on here.
Okay, Patty. Hopefully we'll see you before the end of this. Jack, have you, did you have your hand up, Jack?
I did. I got unmuted finally. Alan, what experience do you have in township government? Have you read the Red Book? Do you know what the Red Book is, or the roles and responsibilities of a trustee?
I don't know what the Red Book is. I do, I've worked with the township with building permits and for my own personal home. No, I basically monitor, the leader, and my sense of what the township board does is pretty much from reading the minutes and the agendas. I do have a I'm what I'm what you call a Six Sigma black belt. I have extraordinary analytical and problem solving skills. So I think I'm a good problem solver, basically.
Okay,
Is
thank
that
you.
it, Alan?
Yeah.
Margie, you want to ask him your question?
Well, I was going to, but I see from his resume or from the note that he wrote that he is a registered voter.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't have to ask him.
Any questions from anyone else? One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a statement. It's about all three of you. If you don't get picked tonight, we're going to be putting someone on the board. And if it happens to be Mr. Nold, he is already on 2 committees that he's going to have to drop off of. One is a ZBA member, and one is either ZBA or the Planning Commission. If anybody doesn't get picked, please, if you want to get interested in township government, put your foot in the door and learn what it's all about. That would be a good opportunity for anyone. So I just wanted to mention that. So please respond. Board, do we have any other questions? Would there be a motion? Okay, everybody. Joe, you got
I'll make a motion to appoint Jonathan Nold to fill out the remainder of Elgin Nichols' unexpired term on the Oxford Township Board of Trustees, effective immediately.
would that be a support for Mr. Wright?
I'll second with comment.
Yes.
The vacancy is not Mr. Nichols because he has resigned the position. It's a vacant trustee position.
Okay, I stand corrected. We'll make a vacant trustee position.
And it wouldn't be taking effect immediately because whoever gets it hasn't been sworn in.
Correct.
Okay, after swearing in.
And is there any other comment, Mr. Wright? Any other comment from the board?
My comment is just to thank the applicants that have shown interest in the vacancy position and to echo Supervisor Dunn's comments that there are potentially some vacancies that are available, and there's also a vacancy on the Pollyant Trail that needs to be filled if it isn't filled by the township board. Thank you again for applying.
It's a perfect opportunity for someone to get their feet wet and learn about township government from the inside. If there's no other questions, I'm going to. Jack, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say there will be an immediate opening on the Planning Commission. That's one thing for sure. And that's a great opportunity for people to get involved. But there are other committees that can be volunteered for. And some of those are the ZBA and the election reviews, not the election reviews, the tax tribunal, things like that. So encouragement to the other two. That's it.
Any other comments? Clerk Wright, roll call.
Trustee Durr,
Yes.
Trustee Payne,
Yes.
Trustee Curtis,
Yes.
Treasurer Ferrari,
Yes.
Clerk Wright, yes, and Supervisor Dunn.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries 6-0.
Can I ask a question? Did somebody second it?
Yes,
Yes,
Clerk
second here.
Wright did for.
Curtis.
Oh, you did. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Keep me in line here. I'm going to, wait a minute, there is paperwork here. Isn't there public comment? Is there any public comment? I'm going to give Susan a couple of seconds to unmute everyone.
Bill, are we on to the next agenda item for M24?
Oh, thank you, Joe. Don't unmute them yet, Susan.
I'll leave you open, Jim. Okay, I'm fine. Either way.
Uh, this agenda item, I thought we addressed some time ago. Could you say what that is, Joe, or excuse me, Curtis?
Maybe Engineer Sharp could explain it better, but I can paraphrase as far as M24 reconstruction will be happening fairly quickly. And they want to have a variance from our zoning ordinance to allow construction work to go on beyond the hours, I'd say between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m., basically to work through the night if need be. In order to do that, they'd like a township board approval that we are okay with them performing the work. And that's only in the Charter Township of Oxford. The Village of Oxford, they're going to have to go through and get that approval. So I don't know, sound like somebody interrupted the talk there.
That wasn't me this time.
But Curtis, if we do okay it, there's going to be some recommendations in our motion.
Yeah, well,
Jack, I'm going to go to Jack right now.
Okay,
Jack?
we were in the MDOT Zoom meeting this morning, or the Microsoft meeting, and Brian Tyson said there is a resolution that some of the communities turned in, and it's a full-blown resolution stating that they're allowing it to go past the ordinance times. So if we got a copy of that, if we approved the township allowing work beyond our ordinance times now, that we will come up with a resolution. Do we have to repass it, or do we need that resolution right now?
I think we could allow it with some caveats. I don't want stone crushers out there in the middle of the night. I don't want it lit up like Las Vegas in the middle of the night. There are homes out there. They have to use, basic common sense, working at night. And I think Curtis Wright might have a motion that might cover something like this. Curtis.
all right, board, listen closely because this is what I put together. I move that the restrictions as required in Article 10 of the current Charter Township of Oxford zoning ordinance and any working hour restrictions be waived during the M24 highway reconstruction project located in the Township of Oxford.
I second that.
And that covers, lighting and noise and the levels.
Vibration.
Okay. Everybody understand that was moved and supported?
Yeah.
Yes, Curtis.
Over to Trustee Curtis. Does that cover us as far as what you heard in the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
They were looking for a variance in the ordinance because our ordinance is 7 o'clock until 9
p.m.
9 p.m. Yeah. So they were, if something had to go on till 11 o'clock or midnight, they were looking for a resolution that states we're okay with that. I believe what you just read covers all the ordinances in Section 10 that would hinder that. So with this motion, we are now overriding it.
Yes, Curtis.
Engineer Sharp, does that work?
You're limiting them on vibrations and things too?
No.
Lighting?
No. Article 10 includes all the lighting, the vibration, the noise. It's all the environmental issues in Article 10.
Okay, so you're basically waiving all of that.
Correct.
That works because they do want to pave at nighttime. You've seen them on I-75 or something when they have those bright lights. Luckily, it's mostly businesses that would be closed during that evening. There's not a lot of residential properties, but they will have the vibratory rollers out there. They will have lights and so forth. So yeah, I think that covers it.
Okay. All right, that's all.
Okay, let's do a roll call.
Treasurer Ferrari.
Yes.
Trustee Durr.
Yes.
Supervisor Dunn.
Yes.
Trustee Payne.
Yes.
Clerk Wright. Yes. And Trustee Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries 6-0.
Okay, now we're going to go on to public comment. Susan, you can do your unmuting, please. Oh, Jim, go ahead while she's unmuting.
So under public comment, just kind of piggyback on what Jack had said just a little bit ago, we did have a pre-construction meeting with MDOT regarding M24. For those of you who are not aware, they are actually going to be beginning construction starting tomorrow. Construction being some barrels, some lane closures, some things like that down near M24. They expected to get going a little bit harder into the actual construction activities the following week, and then that first week of May, it'll be kind of going to be business as usual. They're not anticipating setting up the detour, which goes down Glassby and North Oxford Road, until about Memorial Day. So they will have the closures at Drainer Road, but the actual detour won't be set up till around Memorial Day. Consumers had to leave town for about 3 weeks, but they came back in on Monday. They're finishing up some areas here in Oxford, and it shouldn't conflict at all with the construction, but you've probably seen the barrels out there recently. So that's kind of the update. They haven't set an exact
Hey, breathe that
time,
ace out quick.
but they are planning to have weekly meetings with the municipalities on Wednesdays at this point. So as the schedule gets a little more finalized, I will drop you guys emails or whatever it needs to be, or if anybody has any questions, just give me a shout.
Thank you, Jim. Is there
Thank
any other public comment?
Joe, this is Sue Bizzardi. And
Yes, Susan.
I just wanted to say it's good to see everybody, and I hope everybody's staying well.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Damn it.
Any other comment? Then we'll move on to the last item, the Board of Trustee comments. I'm going to start it out. I'm going to make a statement, and I hope everybody listens very closely. On April 21st, Township Attorney Gary Rentrop issued a legal opinion regarding enforcement of the governor's order as it pertains to non-essential landscaping services. Rentrop said, "It's not the role of the township to allow or disallow an activity not permitted by the governor's order. The township simply has no jurisdiction over this matter. While the township cannot override the executive order, it is also not required to enforce, nor if required to do so, ask or require others, such as the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, to do so." In response to a resident's question on Facebook regarding whether or not the Sheriff's Office would be enforcing the governor's order pertaining to non-essential lawn services, the township replied, "The township will not be directing the sheriff deputies assigned to the Oxford Township substation to cite people." Another Facebook user has misrepresented this to mean the township has actively directed the sheriff's office not to enforce or ignore the governor's order. This is completely false. And again, it's completely false. As was stated, the township will not be directing the sheriff's office to cite people. The township will also not be directing the sheriff's office to ignore the governor's order. The township is not giving any direction to the sheriff's office, period. It's up to the sheriff's office to decide whether its officers enforce or don't enforce the governor's order. I think it's very clear. Any other comment? Since I've got the floor, the other two candidates, please take into consideration when we do apply, we do advertise to get on some of these committees. Please do. You both, I think, would be wonderful candidates for any role like that. And thank you very much for putting in your name now. That's appreciated. Any other comment? I'll go on to Jack Curtis.
Jack, there he is. The only comment I have is I'm watching email traffic between our engineer and the building department. And in the MDOT meeting today, I asked specifically where the Dan's Excavating was going to be yarding up. Well, one of the yard areas I found out through some investigation today is 1190 South Lapeer Road. That's owned by Joe Say, and he's been talking about site preparation, talking about some items being filled. Well, Dan's wants to use that property now, and since Dan's is deemed essential, we should look at that in the building department tomorrow, so that we can facilitate Dan start yarding his equipment up and supplies up. It's hitting us real bad. And secondly, they're at an impasse with Peter Fredericks out at Koenig's because they want to take all the fill that they tear out of M24 and dump it in Koenig's. Well, he can't take backfill unless it's state tested and qualified. Otherwise, he'd be violating an ordinance. So anything we can do to help expedite the yarding process at 1190 would be beneficial to the M24 restore. And Peter's working to set up that yard out there for them, but that's a private business entity, and they'll work on that.
But Jack, we have other problems. We've got permits, we've got soil erosion, we've got, I don't know why it's brought up at this late time.
Yep. Well,
go on to Curtis Wright. Are you through, Jack?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Kurt.
Yes, Mr. Nold, we'll have to make an arrangement so you can come in to take your oath of office. We'll make that happen before our next meeting, which is May 13th. And hopefully we can do that in person. I don't know if the governor is lifting restrictions or not, but hopefully we'll be able to meet as a board without being Zoomed. If not, this is a good learning experience for us, and hopefully our next meeting will be even much better than it was. I think it went really good tonight. I think it all worked out. Just again, thank you to the candidates that applied for the position, and hopefully we'll see you on a board or committee or commission in the future. That's it.
Curtis?
Yes.
Margie, you're next.
I wanted to thank Mr. Swartz and Ms. McClear for having their applications put in, and look forward to seeing you around the township and on some of these committees that we have coming up open. And John, I look forward to continue working with you on the board. I currently work with him on the ZBA. And then, I maybe shouldn't mention it, but regarding that whole business of whether or not the township is telling the sheriff's department to enforce or not enforce, Sheriff Brochard was on the news the other night saying that he's not going to make his people enforce the rules. So, it's really not up to us. It's up to the sheriff's department. So that's all I have. Stay safe, everyone.
Okay, Patty, you're next.
Just tell everybody to stay safe.
Let's see, Joe Ferrari.
I got a couple things. Congratulations, John. Welcome aboard. Emily and Alan, thank you for your interest. Please continue to stay involved. We always need folks that are interested to want to come in and help out the township. And it's always good to get that background. Another thing too, I believe that the virtual meeting thing expires, I believe, May 12th. Our next meeting might be May 13th. May have the exact dates wrong. So I don't know what we'll do with our May meeting unless the governor extends it, allows us to do a virtual meeting. Otherwise, it has to be some type of an in-person meeting. And from what I understand, a lot of April's agenda items will be carried over to May. So we probably want to look at how we're going to handle that with social distancing and all that kind of stuff. And that's all I have.
I'm sure Curtis Wright's listening to all this.
Writing as we speak.
Okay. I'm going to ask one more time. I'll let a do-over for any board member. Any do-overs? So would there be a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.